Oye, ballena, ballena. Oh, amor. It's been over 2 years since Paquita was back in Monhegan, the island I grew up on. I spent the first 20 years of my life on. And we had wanted to come up last year, but the weather and our schedules never worked out. And so the plan was to get up there and get back. You know, this whole trip to Maine is to see my dad, see my sister, and see some friends, and get to Monhegan. And so that was the plan. This is actually shot 2 years ago when we were there, and it was a wonderful time. And that's really what we had in mind. But things don't always work out the way you want them to. But the adventure continues whether you goes the way you planned it or not. I guess that's what makes it so exciting, is you don't really know how everything's going to turn out. Like I say, our original plan was to work our way up the Maine coast and get to Monhegan and spend about a week there. But with the storm that was coming, I was going to get out to Bermuda. They were going to be seeing 6 to 9 feet, so we had to make other plans. To try to put things in context, the last video, if you're following along here, we were coming up from Connecticut, and we went through the Cape Cod Canal, and I think that video ended with us at Stellwagen Bank with the whales, and we made our way. It was so nice, we just kind of kept going and made our way to Portland, and had a wonderful dinner with my sister and her husband. And then the next morning we took off and headed up to Boothbay. Good Thursday morning to you. Thursday, August 15th. We are en route from Portland to Boothbay Harbor. Sneaking right in between that rock over there, this point over here. And everything's looking good so far. But check this out. I got this going. Woo! Look at that. Doesn't that look good? That's been on for about 4 hours now. And if we look at this, look at this. I've got this app. I've got an internal temperature of 165. I just went up to 257 on the outside. The thermometer says it's like 200 there, so I think that I just got a real hot section where it's not, you know, the fire is wicking up on it that way. But we'll have some, well, I don't know if Chrysalida will have any, but I'm planning on having some smoked pork shoulder later on when we get to Boothbay. I usually have a couple friends stop by over there, so maybe have some people eat it. Who knows, maybe if it smells good enough, Chrysalida will eat some too. But it was raining pretty hard for a little while. We still have, as you can see, we've got 6 knots of wind. And if you look at the wind, it's over here, but because of we're making way, the apparent wind is straight ahead of us, so still no wind for sailing, so that's how that goes. So we're motoring, and that's okay. Just running about 1700 RPM, and that puts me, I think, at about 2 to 3 quarts of fuel per hour, so nothing wrong with that, and we'll be good. Talk to you for when we get to Boothbay. We were quite fortunate. By the time we got to Boothbay, the clouds disappeared, the sun came out, picked up a mooring in front of Brown's, and saw some old friends, even hung out with the old skipper. Not the guy that my old tugboat captain, but guy that was one of my brother's old captains, and we had a wonderful night with him and a bunch of other people too before getting underway the next morning. She's a little foggy this morning. I think it's getting better all the time. I don't know, maybe give it another hour. See if it burns off a little bit more before we start heading for Monhegan. Alright, so the fog has lifted a bit. It's lifted quite a bit, as a matter of fact. Down there working on different projects, and I came out and said, oh my god, we have to get underway. So, that only leaves us to some fluid checks, fire them up, and get on our way. You might remember last year we had Chris Lita and I had to replace all the sound insulation in the inside of the engine compartment. And as you can see, we put some new lights in there and put some automatic light switches on there, so when you open the door, all kinds of light comes on. I even put the light strips underneath, below the engine, so that if any fluid or anything drips down, you can see everything. Come around the other side. There we are. We're showing a little bit. And you might say that's a little bit of coolant there, and that is true. It's a little bit, but what you forget is that I have that big long loop of heating stuff that heats up the coolant goes up to heat the hot water heater through my hydronic heater, so when it expands it gets pretty big. My windlass had been making all kinds of weird noises, so I took it apart and greased it for the first time. Probably should have done that. See, I'm supposed to do it once a year. I don't think I've ever done it. It turned out to be a really easy job. This guy right here has been the thing that's been tapping on my hull all night long. Tap, 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 tap. Chris Lita and I are like, what is that? I'd come out here and I wouldn't see anything, and then I thought it was this, but it would be out on the side. Anyway, let the line go, and now I put my little safety line back on here. This is just so that if for some reason something happened, I wouldn't lose all the chain or lose the anchor if the anchor took off. I just put a little piece of Dyneema on that. You guys might think that's a small little line to do that, and you would be absolutely right, but it has super strong Dyneema, and it shouldn't really have to hold back much, just has to keep it from going. So it doesn't look like we have any wind again, but the sun is breaking through. I think it's time to go. So, you know what, before I shut this off, let me show you what we're doing. So, we are here. We're going to be coming out like this, coming out of Boothbay Harbor, around by East Boothbay, coming through the White Islands, and then all the way over here to Monhegan. We're coming in the backside. Jeez, I hope you saw all that. Anyway, this is Manana Island, this is Monhegan Island. Our house used to be right over here, and this is where the town is over here, and I should be picking up a mooring. The harbor master, Shermy Stanley, says that he got me all hooked up, so that should be good. But it should be about a 15-mile trip, so hopefully we'll get there. Everything will be cool. Here we go. Venga, venga. Hell, the backside of Manana, front side of Monhegan coming up in the distance there. You can see the balmy days headed out right now. And about a couple miles to go before we make the turn into the harbor. Coming in from the south, we can come in from the north like most people do, but I figured it's about the time the ferries start showing up. We usually have ferries from New Harbor, from Boothbay, and from Port Clyde. So let's sneak in the back and see what we can find. Sure has been beautiful. still got all these lobster traps out here from the inshore guys, because the Monhegan guys I don't think are fishing now. Maybe I don't know, when I was a kid it used to be January 1st to June 25th, and then they wouldn't fish from June 25th all the way to January 1st again. But maybe that's changed. Well, no, I know that it's changed, but I thought it only moved a couple months. I don't know what it is now, but it seems like these are usually they have like a 2-mile exclusion zone around the island, but I don't know, we'll see. We've been seeing a lot of, well, I think people call them dolphins, but we always called them porpoises up here, the common porpoise. You know, not the gray bottlenose dolphins, but the black and white porpoises. They kind of act like dolphins. Anyway, that's that. In an effort to kind of embrace the cruising lifestyle, where I'm usually on the go at work, and I've been having trouble shedding that kind of idea when I get on the sailboat, I realize that we're getting here early. It's low tide. I mean, they got like 12 foot of tide there, so it's not a big deal. I mean, there's water everywhere. But at low tide, sometimes you can see some of the seals sunning themselves. So instead of going in the southern end of the harbor, we headed over to the seal ledges, Middle Duck Rocks, Eastern Duck Rock, and then we headed to the, said, you know what, we're still ahead of schedule, so why don't we just take a trip around the island, because it's going to get really nasty in the next couple days. And at this point, I wasn't sure if we were going to spend the night here or not, because I knew weather was coming, and it was one of those deals that if I didn't leave the next day, I would have to stay for almost a week waiting for weather to get back. That, you know, I mean, we could go at any time, but it's not gonna be fun. So we decided, you know, at this point I was still on the fence. I figured when I talked to Shermy would have a better idea of it. And anyway, in the meantime, we decided to go around the island, and I figured Crystalita had walked around, you know, gone up to the headlands, backside of the island, walked there before, but she had never been around backside by boat. And I don't really know why, but traditionally we always go around the island the opposite way. In other words, right now we're kind of going clockwise, and I think it's because the Balmy Days traditionally did a trip around the island counterclockwise, because it was lined up with the dock that way, and it wouldn't have to turn around, that sort of stuff. And they always let the island kids ride for free, and I don't really know why we would do that, but I guess there wasn't a lot to do out there, and we used to think it was fun with all our buddies to go and ride around the island and play on the boat. Anyway, so we've come around Green Point, and we're coming around by Blackhead. Let's see, Blackhead, Whitehead, then Burnt-Head, and then I don't think that's it in the distance yet. Maybe it is, but you're eventually going to see Gull Rock. Yeah, I think that's the next head over there. I think that's Burnt-Head over there. Or Whitehead, maybe Whitehead. But this is Blackhead right here. And unlike other parts going up and down the East Coast, we're not in shallow water here. This is very deep water, a few hundred feet deep. And it goes deep like that all the way around the island. But you know what? I'll just shut up and let you enjoy this. Hopefully, you will enjoy it. It's beautiful. It's really it's something that you should take in. You know, you should take in other than watching a YouTube video about it. I think I've tried to encourage people to go out and cruise Monhegan, and like I said, Monhegan tends to get a bad rap because of the tides, and there are no floating docks, and there really isn't a proper anchorage, and if you don't really know somebody, it's hard to get a mooring. Shermy's great about that, but sometimes getting that, you know, I think 99% of everybody that shows up to the island is taken care of. I think a lot of people like to make those connections before they go to the island. They're unable to make those connections, and because of that they end up not going, and they really miss out on a real gem.
Sí. Sí, sí. Y este es la cueva.
Ajá.
Si va allá, no es posible allá, es posible abajo.
Tengo miedo mi teléfono se caiga aquí.
Sí, cuidado. Pura. Hola, foca. Oh, mira la gente.
Mira, aquí hay mucha también.
Joder, hay un chico de un paddleboard. Joder,
¿Qué es eso?
es un chico de paddleboard. Muy peligroso aquí, joder.
Now he's off in the distance over here, but I spotted a guy on a paddleboard, and he's about a third of the way, maybe 25% of the way around the island right now, and headed around the backside. And this is kind of a really dangerous, and well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know this guy. I don't know his skill set or anything like that, but I was really surprised because if he goes in the water, getting ashore is really not an option. It doesn't look like it's really rough here, but because the rocks go straight down, you get over there, the waves go up and hit it and send you right down. It's like impossible to get back on the rocks. And that was one concern I had when I went around when we went into the mooring field, and Sharmy put us on a mooring. I talked to Sharmy about the guy, and Sharmy couldn't believe that the guy was doing it too. He said, "Didn't you realize this place is loaded up with great white sharks right now?" So there's a shark issue. And then Sharmy also said, the other day we had a thunder cell come over, blew 45, almost 50 knots. That would have grabbed him. He would have been halfway across the Atlantic before he was out of that thing. Anyway, hopefully he made it back. That's why I started headed over to see if the guy needed a hand, but he didn't want anything to do with us. He was determined, and I'm sure he made it fine and everything was fine, but just because you can doesn't mean it's a good idea.
No es posible mañana para el tormento venga mañana. Las olas son grandes. Ahora sí, sí, eso es para yo quiero se va ahora. Y eso es aquí, la área de tú tienes el problema con la costa. Sí. Este se llama la lavandería aquí. Este es Rocas y la chica de lavandería. En inglés es washerwoman. Sí.
You might be hearing some beeps going on, and that's the. I have a remote control from the autopilot, so when I forward, I can keep steering. Before too long, we were moored up and dropped the dinghy and went ashore.
My dad used to do this with his boat too.
Yeah, this is she got away from me this year.
You know,
At the beginning of the summer, I ground down with the Clorox. Of course, you're not supposed to do that anymore. And it just took off. Friggin' bottom
It does.
but you don't get any mileage out of it.
Right.
We haven't had a whole lot of water taxi service since fishing stopped either, so
Is that right?
it's been sitting, you know, the more it sits, the more it grows.
Sure, of course.
And these things, these zip weights,
What are these?
so these are trim tabs, but they're not the old style that
Yeah.
fold down. This has just a little blade.
Oh, thank you for the
That one's not down, this side is.
Oh, no way.
It goes down, the stroke's only about an inch.
No shit, that's
It's
enough.
just enough to,
That's cool as shit.
yeah,
I
it's made a
never
huge
used it.
difference on how the boat handles.
Wow, that's phenomenal. And
Dougie had to stand on a box. And
Yeah.
I was like, this sucks. Like,
Yeah.
I've got to step off the box, on the box. And
too
so
funny.
it gets the bow down
Awesome.
just enough that you can, you know, he's not up in the air. I was hoping it would do a little more for the speed, but
Right.
it really, I don't think it did much.
Well, if it didn't slow you down, you didn't add any drag.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah. And it really changes the way the boat handles.
I
too.
imagine.
She used to pull the port. The second if you
Yeah,
went
yeah.
to yell at your stern man, by the time you get back to the wheel, you're already 90 degrees off. Now
And it doesn't do that anymore. That's,
well, don't
In an effort to get a little exercise and show Chryssalida some more of the beautiful island, I took her on the infamous Red Ribbon Trail. It's a beautiful cut through the woods there, and it was wonderful. We steamed up the lobsters and that we had gotten the night before, had some friends over, had a wonderful dinner, and it was a great time. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like these videos, maybe you'll like it and subscribe. And special shout out to my patrons. Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting the channel. You guys take care, be safe, and I'll see you on the one.